Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Right. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Nishakarine Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamhansa Pariprajapacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Namsa Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sriva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Mukund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai Navadip Tham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur. Welcome to all. We're at Adi-lila, chapter 2, text 118 of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita, and today is July 28th in New York. Chaitanya Mahima Jani E Shab Shitante Chitta Dridta Lage Mahima Gyan Hoite. By such conclusive studies, I know the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Only by knowing these glories can one become strong and fixed in attachment to him. Purport. One can know the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only by reaching, in knowledge, a conclusive decision about Sri Krishna, strengthened by bona fide study of the conclusions of the Acharyas. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vatapadakamanang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Mansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhopyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. So here in the previous verse, we heard that one shouldn't avoid discussions of conclusive truths. And here we find that in Krishna consciousness, there are some siddhantas. Siddhantas means conclusive understandings. They're not axioms. They're not, here's what we start with, a list of beliefs. They're conclusions supported by evidence from various shastras. So one should know these siddhantas, these conclusive understandings. And in that way, chitta dritta, the one's understanding becomes fixed. One's mind becomes fixed. The mind goes this way and that way. It's sentimental, or sentiment is found on the platform of the mind. Today, I want to go to New York. Tomorrow, I want to go to Paris. So the mind just flits about here and there. And philosophically also, one can go from belief to disbelief, to this, to that. But higher than the mind is the intelligence. And when the intelligence is fixed, then the mind is also fixed. So one shouldn't avoid trying to understand Krishna consciousness with intelligence, with reference to the conclusions of the acharyas and the shastras. Chaitanya Prabhur Mahima Kahibari Tare Krishner Mahima Tahi Korea Vistare. Just to enunciate the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I have tried to describe the glories of Sri Krishna in detail. The Kaviraja Gosvami has stated in his opening verses that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from that person, Sri Krishna, who's the source of the impersonal Brahmajyoti, who's the supreme super soul of all living entities, and who's ultimately the personality of Godhead. He's elaborated on this theme in this second chapter. Chaitanya Gosaya e Tattva Nirupan Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Rajendra Nandan. The conclusion is that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of the king of Braja. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash Chaitanya Caritamrta Kohe Krishnadasa. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadasa, narrate Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, Adi-lila, second chapter, describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, there's something in the chat box from Prabin. There are some very illiterate devotees who find it difficult even to chant the Prabhupada mantra. They simply understand Radha Krishna, Gaur, lost it. Gaur Nitai are the worshipable lords and follow the initiation vows. Would their destinations be different? Well, if these devotees are fixed in Krishna consciousness, then it's equally good. A fortunate person comes to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna, and engages fully in devotional service. So such a person has reached the conclusive understanding, and we shouldn't insist, no, you have to study philosophy and learn all of these things. If they've already reached the conclusion, then it's very good. But others may find it difficult to reach this fixed position, or they may sentimentally join the Hare Krishna movement and sentimentally leave Therefore, it's better for them to be fixed by philosophical understanding. But if someone is simply by strong faith has reached the conclusion, then it's very good. Wouldn't their bhakti could someone read that for me? It's just hard for me.
I'll try. The wording's a little awkward. I'll read it as it is, but I'm not sure how it's meant to be worded. It says, wouldn't their bhakti would not be enhanced by the lack of knowledge given by the acharyas?
Yeah, wouldn't their bhakti be weakened? Is essentially what's the question seems to me. No. If I'm assuming from the question that these are devotees who are fixed. They're chanting the holy name, they're engaging in devotional service. Simply, they're not very literate, they're not scholarly, but they're strongly fixed in devotional service. So if they're strongly fixed, they're strongly fixed. There's no question of weakness. But others may not be so strongly fixed, or they may be fixed in chanting, but bewildered by so many sentimental ideas. So our general recommendation is that everyone should try to understand these conclusions. And that's what Kaviraja Gosvami advocates here. Okay. We shouldn't imitate devotees who, by their sukriti, by their past devotional service, by their good fortune, are simply absorbed in Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't just imitate them and pretend that we're also like that, while at the same time our minds are affected by so much rubbish. We should follow the process recommended by Kaviraja Goswami, by Srila Prabhupada. Read these books, try to discuss and understand. That will help us. Vijay Krishna has a question. Vijay Krishna, would you like to read that question?
Yes, Maharaj. Question number 1. So, in order for me to become strong and fixed in attachment to Lord Chaitanya, I do need to cultivate the knowledge of his glories. Based on this, my question is, how much time on a daily basis do you recommend for the study of Srila Prabhupada's books?
I don't have a recommendation. We should, as far as possible, Prabhupada would sometimes say, or sometimes he would say, a couple of hours at least. It depends. If a person's a reader, then he should read and read Prabhupada's books. Or if someone is not very much inclined to studies, at least sometimes spend it, just as in our temple programs, we have an hour in the morning, hour in the evening. At least that much we should try to spend. And if one can spend more, then it's very good. We shouldn't waste time. We shouldn't waste time. Chant Hare Krishna, read books, be engaged in service. That will be good for us.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we've reached the end of the chapter, and the next chapter begins, chapter 3, the external reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this chapter, the author has fully discussed the external reasons for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, after displaying his pastimes as Lord Krishna, thought it wise to make his advent in the form of a devotee, to explain personally the transcendental mellows of reciprocal service and love exchanged between himself and his servants, friends, parents, and fiancés. According to the Vedic literature, the foremost occupational duty for humanity in this age of Kali is Nam Sankirtan, or congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The incarnation for this age especially preaches this process. But only Krishna himself can explain the confidential, loving service performed in the four principal varieties of loving affairs between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Lord Krishna, therefore, personally appeared with his plenary portions as Lord Chaitanya. As stated in this chapter, it was for this purpose that Lord Krishna appeared personally in Navadvip in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's understood that in every Kali Yuga, there's an incarnation who comes to teach the chanting, congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But in once in a day of Brahma, Lord Krishna himself appears, not only to teach that chanting, but to teach as well the confidential, loving relationships described here. Krishnadasa Kaviraja has herein presented much authentic evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures to substantiate the identity of Lord Chaitanya with Sri Krishna himself. He has described bodily symptoms in Lord Chaitanya that are visible only in the person of the Supreme Lord. And he has proved that Lord Chaitanya appeared with his personal associates, Sri Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other devotees, to preach the special significance of chanting Hare Krishna. The appearance of Lord Chaitanya is both significant and confidential. He can be appreciated only by pure devotees and only through the process of devotional service. The Lord tried to conceal his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by representing himself as a devotee. But his pure devotees could recognize him by his special features. The Vedas and Puranas foretell the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, but still he is sometimes called, significantly, the concealed descent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Advaita Acharya was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya's father. He felt sorry for the condition of the world, because even after Lord Krishna's appearance, no one had interest in devotional service to Krishna. This forgetfulness was so overwhelming that Advaita Prabhu was convinced that no one but Lord Krishna himself could enlighten people about devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Advaita requested Lord Krishna to appear as Lord Chaitanya. Offering tulsi leaves and Ganges water, he cried for the Lord's appearance. The Lord, being satisfied by his pure devotees, descends to satisfy them. As such, being pleased by Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya appeared. Text 1. Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Yadpadashraya Viryataha Sangranatya Karavratad Agya Siddhanta Sanmanim. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the potency of the shelter of his lotus feet, even a fool can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truth from the minds of the revealed scriptures. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jayādvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Tritiya Shlokera Arta Koila Vivaran Chaturta Shlokera Arta Shuna Bhaktagami. I've given the purport of the third verse. Now, O devotees, please listen to the meaning of the fourth with full attention. Kaviraja Gosvami is explaining his invocatory verses, the verses with which he begins Chaitanya Caritamrita. So now we come to the fourth of those verses. Anarpita chirim firat runayavatir nakalo samarpayatum unatvojvala rasam svabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara judikadamba sandipitaha sada hridaya kandare spuratu va sachinandanaha. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. Purport. This is a quotation from the Vidagdha Madham, a drama compiled and edited by Srila Rupa Goswami. So the verse will be elaborated as we continue with this chapter. That's such a wonderful verse. Yes, Tulsi Priya.
Maharaj, there's a question from Prabeen Prabhu in the chat box. Would you like me to read it?
If you would.
Sorry?
Yes, if you'd be so kind.
The nectar of devotion has very intricate explanations of the rasas of the Nitya Siddha and other rasa concepts. For practicing devotees, this may be very difficult to comprehend. So even if we are not thorough with the complete understanding of the science of Krishna, shall we reach Golok Vrindavan where these rasas are continuously being shown? One devotee tells me, if you do not know how to milk a cow, what will you do at Goloka? How much of the present knowledge is carried to Goloka Vrindavan?
You'll get trained up, don't worry. So many things we may not know about how to serve Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. That training we'll get. Sometimes we hear that before going to Vrindavan in the spiritual world, one takes birth in Vrindavan, in the material world, where Krishna is performing his pastimes. So whatever training is needed, one will get. Sometimes we see that in this world, someone takes on someone is in business and he wants to bring his son or his son-in-law into the business. So out of affection, out of love. So he gives whatever training is needed, whatever qualification is needed, he invests to see that the son or the son-in-law can enter the business, take over the business. So out of love, Krishna will do the needful. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupi antite, Krishna says. For one who's always engaged in serving me with love, I give the knowledge by which he can come to me. Elsewhere it's said, what is that? Yogam kshemam vahamya ananyas chintiyanto mam yejana parupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamya. I preserve whatever he has, and I supply whatever he lacks. So even if someone is lacking in expertise in milking cows or other such matters, not that if you're going to be a gopi in the spiritual world, then you'd better become very expert now in how to wear a sari, how to apply kajal to the eyes and so on, how to wear earrings and other ornaments. Otherwise, how will you go back to the spiritual world and take that position? This is not necessary. This is not necessary. One should perform devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, and at the appropriate time, Krishna will arrange so that whatever we need to know will be manifest. Or from another point of view, these relationships are eternally existing. Srila Prabhupada presents the matter that way for our understanding, that these, our identity is already there, it's simply covered by the cloud of the material covering. So when the cloud is removed, then everything will be there. Where are we now? Is Tulsi Priya, is your question next?
I'm sorry, no, I need to lower my hand, but Vijay Krishna Prabhu has a question.
Okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj. Question number 2. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna chants to Arjuna that he doesn't reveal himself to the foolish and unintelligent. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find that even a fool, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, can collect the jewels of the revealed scriptures. If Krishna and Chaitanya are the same, and if the scriptures are not different from Krishna, how do you explain such a change of behavior?
Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita mudho yam nabhijanati. A devotee may be foolish, but he's not foolish like the materialists. The materialists are genuinely foolish because they're averse to the devotional service of the Lord. But Lord Krishna's whole campaign, what is that? Sarva dharman pratyajya. Mamekam sharanam, surrender to me. And if you don't surrender to me, then namam dushkrita namuta prapadyante naratma, and then you're a rascal fool. So it's understood that we may not be surrendered to Krishna, but we're being given the opportunity to surrender. Otherwise, why is Krishna giving that instruction? If it wasn't possible to follow, there'd be no reason to give it. So we may be fools, but still, by the grace of the Lord, we can take up his order. Sarva Dharman Pratyaja. But there may be those who are, as Krishna gave that instruction, but people were still foolish. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to make it possible for even such fools to become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada gives the example that a teacher tells the students, now write A this way, now write B that way. But if the students don't get it, then the teacher himself takes up the pen. A, B, C. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes up that role. He doesn't need to learn devotional service. He's not a beginning student, but he takes up the role of a devotee just to show the conditioned souls how to serve Krishna. That's described in this chapter, that the Lord takes the role of a devotee to show us how to practice devotional service or how to engage in devotional service to the Lord, so that even a fool can understand. No contradiction there.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vijay Krishna. Purna Bhagavan Krishna Vrajendra Kumar Goloke Vrajera Saha Nitya Vihar. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Braja, is the supreme Lord. He eternally enjoys transcendental pastimes in his eternal abode, Goloka, which includes Vrajadam. This is really wonderful. People are speculating about whether there's a God, whether there's a no God. If they have some conception of God, it may be something impersonal or just the idea of a sort of grand, but indistinct entity. And here, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that personality of Godhead is Krishna. Who is Krishna? The son of the king of Vrindavan, of Braja. So his place is being given, his father's name is being given, his pastimes are being described. This is the gift of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially the Gauriya Sampradaya. We can understand the personality of Godhead in such, with such clarity in detail. Purport. In the previous chapter, it has been established that Krishna, the son of Vrajendra, the king of Braja, is the supreme personality of Godhead with 6 opulences. He eternally enjoys transcendentally variegated opulences on his planet, which is known as Goloka. The eternal pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual planet Krishna Loka are called aprakat, or unmanifested pastimes, because they are beyond the purview of the conditioned souls. Lord Krishna is always present everywhere, but when he's not present before our eyes, he is said to be aprakat, or unmanifested. So Krishna may be prakat, he may be manifesting his pastimes or apricot, not showing his presence. When Krishna was descended to this earth, then his pastimes were prakat, manifested. And now apricot are manifested. Brahmare Gadine Tiho Ekapar Avatirnaha Karin Prakata Bihar. Once in a day of Brahma, he descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. Satyatreta Dvapara Kali Chari Yuga Jani She Chari Yuge Dibya Eka Yuga Mani. We know that there are 4 ages, yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Divya Yuga. Ekatara Chaturyuge Eka Manvantar Chodha Manvantara Brahmar Divasa Pitar. 71 Divya Yugas constitute one Manvantara. There are 14 Manvantaras in one day of Brahma. So this all locks in with the mathematical calculations given in Shastra. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu. The lifetime of Brahma is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Sahasra Yuga, 1,000 ages. And the calculations are given further. You can divide, of course. Brahma lives for 100 years, and each year has 12 months, 30 days, and so on. So you can calculate how long, how much time there is in a day of Brahma. And there are 14 Manvantaras in one day. So in this way, 71 Divya Yugas constitute one Manvantara. In the 3rd canto also, these calculations are elaborated. Purport. A Manvantara is the period controlled by one Manu. The reign of 14 Manus equals the length of one day, 12 hours, in the life of Brahma, and the night of Brahma is of the same duration. These calculations are given in the authentic astronomy book known as the Surya Siddhanta. An annotated Bengali translation of this book was compiled by the great professor of astronomy and mathematics, Bimal Prasad Dutta, later known as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, who was our merciful spiritual master. He was honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta, and the title Gosvami Maharaj was added when he accepted sannyas, the renounced order of life. Vaivashatanam e saptama manvantar Sataisha Chaturyuga Tahar Antar. The present Manu, who is the 7th, is called Vaivashata, the son of Vivashan. 27 Divya Yugas, that is 27 times 4,320,000 solar years of his age, have now passed. Purport. The names of the 14 Manus are as follows. 1. Swayambhuva. 2. Swarochisha. 3. Uttama. 4. Tamasa. 5. Raivata. 6. Chakshush. 7. Vaivashata. 8. Savarni. 9. Daksha Savarni. 10. Brahma Savarni. 11. Dharma Savarni. 12. Rudraputra. Rudra Savarni. 13. Rauchya or Deva Savarni. And 14. Bhautyaka or Indra Savarni. 14 manus. And ours, present manu, is Vaivashanta manu. Ashtavingsha Chaturyuge Dwaparer Sheshe Rajer Sahita Hoy Krishner Prakashe. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with the full paraphernalia of his eternal Rajadham. Purport. Now is the term of Vaivashata Manu, during which Lord Chaitanya appears. First, Lord Krishna appears at the close of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga. And then Lord Chaitanya appears in the Kali Yuga of the same Divya Yuga. Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya appear once in each day of Brahma, or once in 14 Manvantaras, each of 71 Divya Yugas in duration. From the beginning of Brahma's day of 4,320,000,000 years, 6 Manus appear and disappear before Lord Krishna appears. Thus, 1,975,320,000 years of the day of Brahma elapse before the appearance of Lord Krishna. This is an astronomical calculation according to solar years. So there are so many Kali Yugas in the day of Brahma, and in each of these Divya Yugas, there's an incarnation of the personality of Godhead in every age. In the Dwapara Yuga, there's a black incarnation. In the Kali Yuga, there's a golden incarnation, yellow incarnation. In each age, such a yuga, there's a white incarnation and a red incarnation. So all these incarnations are there in every age to teach the Yuga Dharma, or the principles for spiritual advancement in that age. But once during the day of Brahma, once in each day of Brahma, Krishna himself appears as the black incarnation in the Dwapara Yuga. And just after that, in the next Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears as the golden incarnation. Otherwise, there's an incarnation of the Lord in all of these ages, but in these 2 ages within, the Dwapara Yuga and then the Kali Yuga that follows, in these 2 ages, Krishna himself and Lord Chaitanya himself appear. Tasya Sakya Vatsalya Shringar Chari Rasha Chari Paber Bhakta Yata Krishna Tar Basha. Servitude, Dasya, friendship, Sakya, parental affection, Vatsalya, and conjugal love, Shringar, are the four transcendental mellows, rasas. By the devotees who cherish these four mellows, Lord Krishna is subdued. Purport. Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Shringar are the transcendental modes of loving service to the Lord. Shanta Rasa, or the neutral stage, is not mentioned in this verse because although in Shanta Rasa one considers the absolute truth, the sublime great, one does not go beyond that conception. Shanta Rasa is a very grand idea for materialistic philosophers. But such idealistic appreciation is only the beginning. It is the lowest among the relationships in the spiritual world. Shanta Rasa is not given much importance because as soon as there is a slight understanding between the knower and the known, active loving transcendental reciprocations and exchanges begin. Dasya Rasa is the basic relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Therefore, this verse considers Dasya, the first stage of transcendental devotional service. So the verse says these are the loving relationships that Krishna's interested in, that attract him, that subdue him. And the Shantarasa is not mentioned because it's less important. We find this in various places in Srila Prabhupada's writings, that the Shantarasa rasa is mentioned, but it's sometimes considered one of the rasas, sometimes not considered one of the rasas. It has almost a borderline position, because if there's a slight development of loving exchanges, then we come to Dasya. Shanta is only passive. And so sometimes it's not even considered devotional service, or sometimes it's considered, all right, it's devotional service, but not very advanced. So the Dasya is the basic principle for all the other relationships. Yes, Tulsi Priya.
Maharaj, I'm trying to understand. My understanding is that Shantarasa is a personalist understanding, right?
Yes.
And the first thing that comes to my mind is, let's say you're a Catholic and you're standing in St. Peter's Square and you see the Pope and you're just filled with some sort of pious bliss, and you see the Pope and you're crying and whatever, but it doesn't occur to you, oh, I would like to shine his shoes or cook him a meal or something like that. But you're having, so that would be kind of a type of Shanta. But my question is, what is the slight understanding? Is that slight understanding the desire to do some service that moves it from Shanta to, okay.
If he's great, then I should do something for him.
Okay.
The idea of active service. If the reciprocations and exchanges begin, that means active service. Otherwise, the appreciation, sometimes the appreciation is considered to be just above impersonal, because in the impersonal conception, there's no service, because there's no one to serve and no one to do the serving. So this is above that, but not so much above, because still there's the concept of active service hasn't yet begun.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. So what I was thinking about was when you have Paramatma realization, that's a form of, if you're not mistaking yourself for this for the Paramatma, then would that be Shantarasa, where you're just contemplating the super soul within, but not necessarily?
Generally, the philosophers who see the super soul in the stage before active service begins are considered to be in the Shanta.
Thank you.
Kendra Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Just to underscore what you're saying, we were reading something in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya the other day, in chapter 14, where Prabhupada gives the list of the permanent devotional attitudes, he calls them, and says they can be divided into 5 categories. Number 1, he just calls peacefulness. And then number 2, service to Krishna. 3, friendship with Krishna. 4, parental affection toward Krishna. And 5, conjugal love for Krishna. I just thought it was interesting that he, in that list, peacefulness is just all by itself. It doesn't have a relationship with Krishna so much.
Yeah, nice observation. So the person in Shantarasa is self-satisfied. He's realized the supreme grade, and so he's satisfied with that. But he doesn't go further, or when he goes further, then it becomes dasya. Okay, we've come to 5 minutes of, and if we could have kirtan, that would be very nice. And do we have a kirtan volunteer?
Yes, we have.
All right. Thank you very much.
There's no time for my question number 3?
I didn't see your question number 3. That's my, well, all right, let's see. Related to Bhakti Siddhanta, becoming honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta, and the title Gosvami Maharaj when he accepted renounced order. Question is, in what measure do the words Das and Dasi at the very end of the spiritual names of the initiated devotees, to what extent should they be recognized as some kind of honorific title? Isn't it that to have been initiated by a spiritual master in the service of Lord Krishna constitutes at least an uncommon event. To be servant of Krishna is the greatest honor. It's not just an honorific title like doctor or professor, but it's the greatest honor to be servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And it's not just a title, but it's a change of identity. I was thinking that I was the master. Now I see that I'm the servant. Yes.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you very much. Should
Thank
I go
you.
for kirtan?
Please.
Yes, today the musical, the instruments are kartals. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Oh, please, Maharaj.
Carry on.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Panumansa Pariprajaka Charja Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Charja Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kunagiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol.
Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Guru.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Just-
Krishna.
Just wanted to point out that there's a link for Maharaj's classes at New Mayapur in the chat box.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Doug and Shah. Hare Krishna.
Very well, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. All right. And we can end here. Thank you all again. Hare Krishna.
Done, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.